You do have an interesting challenge this year, though, playing Grumio, which is a male role, but not this year. It's not a woman playing a man.
No, and that was something discussed. I mean, I could have played it as a man too. That was something actually that we talked about. That it would have been fun to do the gender bender thing, especially as in Shakespeare's time, women were played by men, and so wouldn't it be fun for a woman to play a man as a man? You know, all that sort of stuff. But Peter has he had a little bit of experience with this relationship, having directed an all-female company in this play, and many years ago. And he said one of the most interesting things that came out of that was the Grumio-Petruchio relationship, and how it put the Kate-Petruchio relationship in a kind of, not in a perspective, but it just fed into it in the right kind of way. I mean, I think possibly, you know, on our entrance, I mean, he beats Grumio's, or Gruvio, as I like to call her, is a servant, and it doesn't matter how I play it out. Shakespeare's written that part as a servant, and so the only thing that's changed, I'm still his servant. I mean, that what's changed is that I'm a woman, and that possibly there's some kind of wenchy relationship happening between the master and the servant. But you know, and at the beginning, he's sort of abusive, physically abusive to Grumio, and I think what's sort of interesting about that, although it's hard to tell from the inside, but possibly from the outside, is that all it shows is Petruchio has some issues that he also has to deal with. I mean, he has you know, maybe to learn he has the same lessons to learn, except different lessons, maybe male lessons, you know, as opposed to female or something. I don't know, but I get the feeling that having him beat on a woman at the top of the show, you go, that guy's got something to learn, and you get that from the get-go. Like, he has got something to learn about women, you know, and does.
Well, we always hear about Kate constantly. She gets, you know, she gets all the bad rap from Taming of Shrew. But what about Petruchio? I mean, why? If Kate's a shrew, what is he? Is he normal? Do we just let them away with that? Is that just the way they behave?
No, I mean, I think certainly in this production, Evan Bueling is approaching Petruchio with a very, I would say, a very sensitive side, as well as
it's very moving. Yeah, it's quite devastating.
He's trying so hard to make this relationship work, and I think he recognizes from the beginning that Kate is out of control. Kate needs help. She needs somebody to come in and say, you can't behave this way, you can't treat people this way. And so he basically out-Kates her. And he does it in a way that I think some people would find reprehensible, but I think we found a fantastic balance in this production where he's, as you say, he's also learning a lot, he's accepting a lot of responsibility for what he's doing, he's trying, he's trying to find the heart in what's happening.
I think he truly suffers through the play. Yeah. And I think his vulnerability is really one of the most endearing things about this production, because he is as vulnerable, I think, as Kate is.
Yeah,
and how they're both dealing with it is very human. And they're so human, both of them.
And I think it's seeing that in him and being empathetic with him that finally I find the way to go, I know why he's doing this. I understand why he's doing it, because he's feeling it with such love and heart and compassion.
What about the interplay between you two women? That's really not written into the play at all. Did you have to find something there? Are you, is your character jealous of Kate? Is your character jealous of Grumio? Is there some sort of interplay that you had to create outside the text?
I think there's something, I mean, from my point of view, I think there's something really wonderful for Grumio to witness, which Grumio the servant would witness anyway, male or female. But I think, you know, what he or she witnesses is the change that happens to Petruchio, who she's familiar with. And from my point of view in this production, it's also, I think Grumio is devastatingly in love with Petruchio, but it's just not the kind of love that will ever see the light of day. I mean, it's like kind of a, you know, I don't know, like it's a young sort of kind of crazy, out there, adventurous, that has no sort of roots to it, and couldn't ever take any root. You know, it's a bit like kind of like Hollywood or something, like kind of weird. Yeah, like it's not real in as much as is in, and that's what I think is so great about what happens, is that I get to see him fall in love, and I truly believe she accepts at the end that she recognizes it. She goes, yeah, and maybe goes off to see if she can find the same thing in her life, or maybe realizes maybe she won't ever have that. Or
it's very
sophisticated love. It's a sophistication to the love and the wooing that she witnesses that I think there's a lesson for her too.
And it's very interesting for us in this scene at Grumio's house, where I'm trying desperately to get food and rest. To be asking another woman for those things as opposed to another man is I think.
And there's a kind of usurpation in the household too, like that there's a woman, now there's a mistress in the house, and I was sort of running you know, as well or as badly as she was, you know, doing that I think, but there is a kind of torture that happens there.
There's another layer as well to how women treat women in this play, as opposed to we always think how men are treating women, but Kate is terribly unkind to Bianca. As well, and I think these two, there's some real conflict, but I think actually they become sort of allies by the end of the play.
I think so too, because I think they both know and love Petruchio.
Yeah.
I think there ends up being a kind of a common sort of a deal or an agreement or some kind of truce or something that is made.
We have lots of questions flowing in from our audience out there, and I'd like to get to them if we can. It seems that people do come to Shakespeare to get answers to everyday questions, which is going to be delightful for Des and Anthony to hear. We have two questions that are a bit similar here. Irene, do you feel Kate and Petruchio will have a successful marriage?
Absolutely, I do.
Good. And also someone writing in, I think maybe about their own relationship, having been to the show to see it, which they thought was wonderful. They wondered if you could share your thoughts on how a modern man might help his woman experience her vulnerability without breaking her. I don't know that we have a lot of time to approach that, but I think it's wonderful that people are seeing our shows and thinking about them in terms of today and living their lives.
Just wondering if my husband wrote that. And you can't.
And two things that are related here. Irene, what do you think is the cause for Kate's anger and shrewishness, and how did the choice of having Kate have a limp come about? And maybe there's some link between those two questions.
I think the limp came about through it was Peter Hinton's idea that because Shakespeare has written that in the play, and it's often taken as a stage direction for some physical thing that's happened, but Peter thought, well, what if that's not the case, and what if she is somebody who is crippled, and that adds another layer of her being outside of the bounds of what's acceptable in this Elizabethan society, and adds to her sort of demeanor, in a way. So that came about that way, and I think her anger is to do with the society she's living in, the way women are being treated, the lack of power she feels over her own choices, the fact that she can be given away in marriage without her consent. All of that, I think, is making her angry, and I think the relationship with the father is very important as well in terms of her dissatisfaction and wanting so much to be loved by him.
There are lovely moments in this play with both of you women, and as Kate transforms or changes or comes to know herself better, and as Petruchio and Bueling as well. It's really a beautiful production. I hope that our audience members our web audience members will come and see the show very soon. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you.
We're lucky to have you both in the company. Thank you very much for joining us. Next week we're going to have Martha Henry and Brian Dennehy talking about The Countess and the King as they prepare to open All's Well That Ends Well, another great show that's happening here this year's season at the Stratford Shakespeare Festival. Thank you very much for being with us. We'll see you next week.